Maki Master is a reimplementation of a game called Wasabi. Wasabi is one I've been wanting for a while, but it was out of print and hard to get, so once it was reimplemented as Maki Master, we of course grabbed it, and now it's time to see how it goes. We are set up for a two-player game of Maki Master. Set up a two-player one. It is the same way as a 3- and 4-player one, except these are not blocked off and there's more teacups. So for setup, you are going to take this action board and you are going to block off the denoted number of spaces. In a 2-player game, it's 2. In a 3-player game, it's 1. In a 4-player, it is off to the side of the board. Each person will get a teacup, and they're going to place them on the board randomly. I just have them started here. You're going to separate your length recipes by 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. You're going to set up the pantry with the colors next to the symbol, the color that's denoted there. You can leave them in the pantry, or you can just lay them out on the table, whichever your preference is. You're going to have a supply of wasabi over here. You're going to put the wasabi pool on there with 1 cube. You're going to shuffle up the action cards, deal out 3. Each player gets a 2, a 3, and a 4, a bowl for their wasabi, and a player aid if they so want one. You are then going to choose a first player randomly. On your turn, the very first thing you're going to do is you are going to play a tile. You can choose whichever tile you want out of any of these racks, but obviously you're going to be wanting to play one that matches the card in your hand. So if we look at these cards more in depth, you will see that they have icons on there, and that is what they need to be able to make the sushi one. As long as these 4 are in a line, straight across or straight down, as long as those 4 are all together in those lines, you are going to put this face down and score the points below. If you have the ingredients in this exact order, whether it be down, up, left, or right, but as long as it goes this, then this, then this, then this, you'll then have been considered serving it with style, in which case you'll get the specials denoted here, which in this instance is 2 wasabi, 2 wasabi. A size 2 is always served with style, so you're always going to be getting the points plus a choice of an action card. So again, you are going to grab one from here, and you're going to put it on the board. You now are going to do one of 2 things. You are either going to serve or you are going to prep. If you serve, that is when you're going to be completing sushi from your hand. You can complete as many as possible. The only stipulation is in order to complete a recipe, you need to be using tiles where you contributed at least one of those on the board this turn. So for example, if someone at the beginning of my turn had already placed those, so at the beginning of my turn, I place my tile, we'll just go ahead and place that right there. I could not serve this tile because I put that. I did not contribute to that this turn. Once you are done serving, you're going to refill your hand till you have 3 cards. If you take a level or size 3, you are going to take 1 wasabi, put it in your bowl, and then put 1 in the pool. If you take a level 4, 1 goes in the pool, and level 5, 2 go in the pool. But you just take it to your hand and you have that to complete on a future turn. The other option you have is to prep. If you prep, you choose one of 3 actions. You either can gain 1 action card. You can have at most 2 action cards. So say I take spicy, this goes face up in front of me and then gets replaced. You also can take all of the wasabi from the pool to your supply and then put 1 wasabi on there. So say there was 6 wasabi there, I would just take all of that, and then I would take 1 from there and put 1 in the pool. The third option, you can discard as many cards as you want from your hand to their respective decks, and then draw replacement cards. However, at that point, you ignore the actions on the back. When it comes to action cards, you can play these anytime during your turn. When you play them, you do the effect and you discard them. If by using an action card, you add some form of ingredient to a row or column, in that instance, you would be considered having contributed to that, even if the tile had already been on the board, so you would then be able to complete a recipe using those tiles. The teacups themselves do not block spaces, so if I want to put a tile there, I can just move the teacup anywhere I want and place that on the board. you're going to be going back and forth until at the end of someone's turn, the board is filled with ingredients and teacups. In that instance, everyone else, including that person, will get one final turn. You will, unless they have an action card like Chop, which gets rid of a piece, or one that allows you to stack a piece on top, you will ignore the laying a tile step. You will then move into step 2 of serving or prepping. Again, however, in order to serve, you need to have contributed to the tiles. So if you don't have one of those set action cards, you'll just have to do one of the prep actions. At the end of the game, you're going to be scoring points for any sushi you've completed, and 1 point per wasabi. Most points, of course, wins. So that is how you play Maki Master. So let's get into how I think it goes. So we are, of course, going to be starting off with Inside the Box. If you want to see a detailed Inside the Box, there's a link right up above for our unboxing of the game. So I will say we are, for Inside the Box, talking about the Kickstarter edition. So the big difference in the Kickstarter edition is that pantry that holds all the tiles. And that is one of the things I will say is nice. It's cool. It holds them. But laid out on the table, I think I would prefer to take the tiles actually out of the pantry, because otherwise you're kind of like trying to flip through them through the side, and they're held in there nice, so it's not like they flip really easily to be able to see the theme behind it, because they're held in there kind of snug. So I do kind of prefer more laying them out, kind of like I did in my solo play. Again, if you haven't seen that, there will be a link right above right now. So besides that pantry, the insert in there holds everything fine. All the wasabi tokens are thrown in a little well that you just pull out. All of the expansion stuff is in just a little well all on its own, which is nice because it keeps it separating. You can just remember everything is right in there. The cards just stick right in the middle real good. So the insert is well designed. The wood components themselves feel great. It's another thing that's different is our teacups are a molded shape as opposed to a cylinder with a sticker on it, which is what you would get in the standard edition. But those cups are great. The wasabi feels nice. It's nice, bright, colorful. The little bowls you got to hold your wasabi, it's a really nice touch and just feel really good quality. The rulebook itself, nice, clear, concise, able to read through it. It follows the flow of the game really well. It explains everything good and has good examples. The sole rules is a separate sheet. And again, that walks through everything fine. The one issue I did have that I didn't address, if I would have just thought through like another step or two more, I would have realized what it was I was starting to think, if it's in the column, does it go left, right? How does it go? But no, it is left and right. That was all addressed in my solo play. So if you are confused about that, it's in there. The cards themselves with all the artwork, they look tasty, they look phenomenal. I love how some of them, I think they might have been the fan-created ones, kind of look like different foods, but still look delicious. Up top, they have the words of what you're all trying to get for, because along the side, they show like the color and then what food it is with the little name there and the little name up there. That is my one issue, is that the names are a little small. So if you do have trouble seeing small print, you're really going to be having to stare and look up at the cards. But all the types of food, like the vegetables and the fish and the accents and all that, are color-coded, so you kind of have a color-coding system on there too that will figure it out, and that you can kind of figure out exactly where it is from there. That's also referenced on the special cards. If it wants you to get like certain points for seafood or stuff, that word is highlighted the color that corresponds to the tiles. Moving on to the two-player experience, this doesn't really have much of a change in a two-player experience. You just have that action board that blocks off the last two rows, kind of making a smaller board, and plus it's one teacup per player, so you only have the two teacups. So to me, that kind of made it so we had very little interaction until maybe the last third of the game. We were each able to kind of do our own little thing and score however we want, unless someone like actively tried to stop you from doing stuff. Sometimes you were able to build off of your opponents going one way to help you, but for the most part, we were playing basically by ourselves and building our own little board until about the last third, when you had no choice but to kind of start overlapping with each other. Also, with only two players, it was very minimal downtime as the choices are made and kind of puzzled out and where exactly you want to put things. The wasabi pool didn't get overly full, between turns, because if someone completes a card, at most 2 is getting put in there. Whereas in a multiplayer, as it's going around, more people are putting it in. I could see that becoming much more lucrative, because it's like if you're playing and then everyone else in a 4-player game fulfills an order and puts Wasabi in there, well, now that's gap between an extra 3 to 6 Wasabi. So it might be more worthwhile to take that and then fulfill on the other turn. So the Wasabi didn't seem to play as much of a role for us, like grabbing it as one of the actions that I could see maybe in a larger player count. As for the gameplay, this was fast, this is simple, this is smooth. It's easy to teach. All you're doing is grabbing a tile, putting it on the board, then either serving a card from your hand or doing one of the prep actions. Those prep actions are pretty quick. Exchange a card, grab some Wasabi, or take an action card. Done. So the turns can move quick. Where the gameplay really shines is that puzzly aspect of, is there a way I can maximize this piece of, or this rice piece that I'm putting out? Or where do I want to put on the board to be able to leave myself maneuvering room all the way around it? Because especially if you're going for a 5, the board is only 6 spaces big. So if you go with a 5, you only have like 1 space on either side. And I think across, it's only 5 in a 2-player game, because I believe the board's normally a 6x7 if I remember correctly. So really having to manage where you're putting those things, especially if you're wanting to try and serve with style to get those Wasabi cubes, that is really the part that really makes you think, makes that puzzly aspect there of, if I can put this here and then maybe build off it, and then maybe I can just try and go off of this way, almost like a crossword puzzle thinking, like, I spell this word here and then this word utilizes this letter, so let's kind of build that up that way. And when do you want to fulfill the orders? What size do you want to keep grabbing? Do you try and grab a 5 early and just really like make that your focus and really hope that you can do that, and then try and branch off, like I said, of those other ones? Or do you try and do a couple 2s early to get those action cards, so you're not sort of wasting an action, but you're utilizing, playing the card and then being able to get that action card to be able to help you in the future turn. Planning that end game just right, because if you don't have an action card that allows you to manipulate that board somehow, your last turn after the end game's triggered is really going to just be probably grabbing Wasabi. And if you're the second person to do that, guess what? You're only getting 1 Wasabi, so you're not even maximizing those points. It's going to be 1 point only. So overall, I will say the game accomplishes what it's meant to do. It's a cool puzzle laying game, fulfilling your recipes, trying to maximize that puzzle. And as I said, this is based off a game I wanted for a while, but for some reason, this one did just fall flat for me at the 2-player count. When I did play it solo, though, I did enjoy that. It's kind of a different type of puzzle, and it just seemed more enjoyable to me. I really like this one solo, even with the random nature of just rolling die, and then you don't even know what ingredients coming out. I mean, that's kind of how another player is, except another player isn't always going to be placing it in the same column as you. But with you knowing that column's coming, you could always manipulate around there. So like I said, just for some reason at a 2-player, because to me, playing it at 2-player, like I said earlier, kind of felt like you had to do a little bit of take that or a little bit of mean play. Like if you can see where they're trying to set themselves up for a 5, purposely putting a piece there to start building off yours. And I didn't want that experience from this type of game. I was hoping more for just like kind of building out this puzzle and scoring points. And as I said, that's basically kind of what the solo game is. So that's why I think this solo game, in this essence, shines better for me than it did my personal experience with the 2-player game. And I know the Kickstarter edition came with a bunch of mini expansions, which I'm assuming you can probably get on the website afterwards, that add like, ginger and soy sauce, and there's appetizers and different ways to kind of steer you towards things. And I know there was the one that kind of, like with the appetizers, where when you're serving certain color dishes or using certain ingredients, you're able to grab them. But I think some kind of end game goal card could have helped kind of steer it more also. Otherwise, you're just trying to, all right, I got this. Like maybe something, if you have so much Wasabi, or between so much and so much Wasabi, you're going to score this. Have so many rolls that utilize this type of rice or that type of rice, or some kind of end game goal mechanic there, to where it's not just the rolls that you do. because you can easily start noticing if someone's doing a lot of rolls. Like if they do one that's a 5 and serve it with style, you're going to be really behind the 8 ball, especially if you're not going to be able to line yourself up for that 5. Because as far as I know, from what we've seen, all the 5s use unique ingredients. Well, there's only one of each. So if you happen to get one that they do, then you're having to search for another 5 that utilizes that, or try and get a special action card. And with a very limited amount of turns in this game, it does feel like at that point you're just really trying to play catch up and just wasting turns as you're trying to get that one thing laid out. So like I said, it did fall flat for me. It's a little disappointing, but I did get it for, I do now have it for a good solo game that I can pull out, and that myself I find enjoyable. So overall, I'm going to say it go okay. I give it a 6 out of 10, mainly because it's not one that I'm going to be able to pull out and play with Bri all the time. That's going to be more for that solo experience. But if you're looking for that puzzly aspect game where sometimes you are going to want to try and hinder your opponent, then this will probably be a good fit for you. Just like I said, for me personally, the playstyle I like to do is why it fell flat for me. So, again, that was how I thought Maki Master go. Now, if you could please go down below and hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, share the video so other people can see if Maki Master is made for them. You can also comment down below and let me know what you might disagree with what I said, but please make sure to do it nicely. And until next time, roll it out.